Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Tonight we're going to be looking at Storeyville, a kind of graphic novel by Frank Santoro. Now, I say a kind of graphic novel, and also the reason why this is so small on the screen compared to normal is because this is a tabloid newspaper, basically, and it's a 40-page story, oversized when you fold it out. But it seems like Frank Santoro, I would imagine, publishes himself. That's why it's on such a kind of crappy format. I never liked reading comics like in this format. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. But it's beautiful. This is an amazing story. And the art is really unique. And I just... rereading it again today, probably for the first time in 10 years, I was really impressed. Like, the first time I think I was just like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But now I just really like this art, even though it's kind of weird and sketchy and just different than most artists. But this came out in 1995, as I think I just said. And Frank Santoro, I've never seen anything else by the guy. But I know that this impressed a lot of people. And apparently in 2007, they finally, Picture Box released this as a nice graphic novel, real book. And Chris Ware did the introduction. I guess he was very impressed by this back when it came out. Has an afterword by Dan Nadell. So I really want that. But this is great, though. But as you can see, this is fucking... It looks like a rat chewed here, this comic up. But it's readable, for the most part. It doesn't really get in the way of the art. But this is all I got for now. I definitely one day hope to find that book. This gives you an idea of Frank Santoro's art, this cover. It's, as I said, very sketchy. You can see the pencil lines, even when he inks a lot of the panels, but he doesn't erase the pencil lines underneath. But it does give it this really nice effect. So hopefully I centered this correctly. I hope you can see this. Okay, so this is like the little introduction. Oh, I should do it this way first. Just the, the indicia here, and just a very sketchy drawing of, I believe this is Pittsburgh, because that's where our story begins. Okay. Center it again. I think that should be good. Yeah, I really do not like this tabloid format. Okay, let's get this over here. This should be okay, I hope. Now, as you can see, Frank Santoro strictly adheres to just like this grid format throughout the comic. No panel gutters, just pure, just little lines in between every panel. As you can see by this first page, Santoro takes his time with the story. He's really into the scenery of places, and I really found myself loving it. Part of me was just like, okay, you're really setting the place. I get it, but I just soon was just like every drawing I just loved looking at. So he didn't have the money to have full color. So it's basically like, I think 2 or 3 colors in here, like a sepia yellow and a brown. And of course his pencil gray tone is almost like another color. So we slowly just watch set the place. And we see it's the early days of the 20th century. And we're basically at a hobo camp, what they used to call the jungle. And we see this guy walk up to the camp, and I guess he's just got on a shoplifting run. They're like, what'd you get? He's got bread and sardines. Now, the self-professed boss of the camp, a few people even call him boss. He's kind of pissed off. He's like, man, that's all you got? Oh, his name's Freddie, by the way. And he says, "Did you get my tobacco?" He's like, no, the store owner was watching me like a hawk. I barely got out of there. So this boss, he says, "Freddie's got to learn to do what I says. We're going to make an example out of him. Come on, guys, let's beat the shit out of him." There's some pushback. Some of the guys at the camp were just like, "You're not the boss here. There's no boss in this camp." But I guess this guy's just a bully, so he's kind of he gets his way. Look at this figure work here in the faces. It's just really sometimes crude and simple. But like, look at the way this guy's standing. Like his figure, I love his figure work. Even though it's really looks dashed off and very sketchy. But like, really just expressive anatomy going on here. I really just found myself entranced by this art. Like, look at that weird face there. There's a lot of weird faces and like weird stylized, almost caricature of the people in the story. So this turns into a big thing. This guy named this guy named Will, he kind of like sticks up for this guy who's gonna get beat up. So then the boss says, "I'm gonna kick your ass." But then right then, this guy shows up. His name's Cy. And he tells the boss guy, he says, "Hey, Cecil, you planning on getting your butt whipped by my old friend Will?" And obviously, Cy has some sway, because all of a sudden, Cecil's just like, "Oh, it ain't nothing, Cy. We're just fooling around." Like, he totally backs down. I guess Cy is just probably a good fighter or something, but everyone seems to be scared of him. Here's some more of that figure work. I just love it. So Will and Cy are old friends, and they reunite here. And I guess his name is Fish Eye Cy. And they just talk. He asks Cy about where he's been, his travels. To see this right here, like it's fully inked, well, loosely inked, I should say. But then you can still see all this pencil work under it. I don't know, it just gives it this liveliness, like it's moving around or something. I don't know how to describe it, but I like it. Oh yeah, all these panels with the inking and the pencils bleeding through, I really enjoy. So, Cy tells him that he was up in Canada and he saw Rudy the Reverend. Now this seems to stop Will dead in his tracks. He tells him the story. He was in a sailor's dive bar up in Montreal, I believe. Some guy was beating up on this poor little guy. I guess he stole money from him or something. And Rudy just walked up in between everyone, because everyone was all like, "Kick his ass, kick his ass." But Rudy just went up, said, "How much does he owe you, this little guy?" $9, and he gives him a 10 and basically leads the little guy out of there. He saved his ass. So this figure of Rudy, just hearing about him, was like, wow, this guy sounds like a character, like kind of heroic. Just a good egg all around. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just getting mesmerized by this art. See, sometimes it's just pure pencil, no ink at all. Oh yeah, that's the flashback. Oh, I guess there's a little link in the flashback though, so it doesn't adhere to that totally. Now Will is just like, all of a sudden he's just like, Rudy. Apparently Will has been looking for Rudy for years. And hearing this news, he is now just like, I gotta get to Montreal. He says the 1,000 miles to Montreal meant nothing to me. Love this cityscape here in pencil. Beautiful stuff. Look at this face here. It's like this T-square, and it shouldn't work, but it does. That's a great face. You could totally see the intent on his face. Like he's determined to get to Montreal. But it's just so weird when you look at it. It's just like, wow, that's interesting. Because like most of the faces are drawn more, illustratively, not as stylized. But he continually does that with our protagonist, Will. And I don't know, it works. Kind of reminds me of like a Dylan Horrocks, the New Zealand cartoonist. He thinks of Rudy, a friend I thought I'd lost, yet I never gave up hope. There was a chance I could find the Reverend, and that meant there was a chance for me as well. So we already realized Will, he's searching for something. He's obviously not totally pleased with his life. He needs something. Something's missing in his life. So he heads out of town. And just all of this stuff with the colors, mixing and matching all these styles and colors. It's really exciting to me. I just like this panel. I love this panel. I love almost every panel in here. It's so nice. Okay, so we see him riding the rails. Once again, Frank Santoro takes his time. Really just showing off the country and the various cities he's riding through. We see him jumping off one train here. We get a little like kind of action scene. So he says that twice along the way he allowed himself to be rousted by the railroad bulls in friendly whistle-stop towns, just as the Reverend had first taught me to do. So you realize, like, okay, this guy Rudy was like an older brother figure, a mentor to him. And you kind of slowly start to understand, like, this guy Rudy was really important to Will. And you understand why he's so really wants to find him. I guess the thing is like in small towns, the local constable area, they're nicer than big city cops. And they'll just throw you in jail. But then you get to rest in a jail cell in the cot, and you get 3 square meals a day. So this is a little trick that these tramps would utilize. So he's like just riding the rails. Sometimes he's with other guys. Here they are. They got arrested again, so they're getting some nice chow. Look at that. It's almost like it's not finished. He gave up on this panel. But you get a sense of it's like early morning fog or mist or something. Yeah, look how just like languorous this comic is. He's really just taking his time, just showing us snapshots of, I guess we're in Canada now. So he makes it to Montreal. He thinks to himself, I knew the Reverend would set me straight. I kept going over in my mind how I'd tell him I was sorry and hoping that he'd be sorry too. So this like amazing like drama between these guys. I was very curious at this point. I'm just like, what happened between these two? Like, what's going on? We'll find out though. I just love looking at these. So Montreal's a booming city at the time. And he found it very exciting. Will finds it exciting. He's also excited to find Rudy. After all this time, he finally has a lead on him. He spent his days just looking for Rudy or a familiar face who might know if Rudy's there. So basically, yeah, it's like a full-time job for him. He wakes up early, stalks the neighborhoods, goes to the waterfront, see the fishing boats that are coming and going. He also adds to the mystery a little. He says, in any case, I knew my being here might cause him problems. So this goes on for quite a while. We see him being chased by dogs. He says, my money was running out. I suppose my hope was running out as well. So, of course, he checked out all the sailor dives, the bars, because that's where his friend Cy saw Rudy. He's hoping that he'll find him at one of these places. Here's this interesting commentary about how he began to view the fishermen and dockhands with a strange combination of contempt and envy. He didn't understand, the average Joe working like a dog for barely any pay. And, but he's also kind of envious of their camaraderie and just having a purpose in life. He longed for the stability and camaraderie of their lives, it says. Here's another one of those incredibly simple faces here. So he goes to the local jungle in Montreal, where all their hobos are, and basically because he's lonely. And he also wants to ask around if anyone, knows about Rudy. They kind of say, get the fuck out of here. Why are you asking questions, Yankee? And as we see him lose hope and get more and more tired, look at how the art just gets really just like loose and almost abstract. This page is very interesting. It's kind of singular in the comic. Well, it continues here a little, but then it tightens up a little. He also mentions once again how basically Rudy's voice is always in his head, telling him what to do. So you really realize, God, Rudy had a real impact on this guy's life. I mean, maybe he's actually not just an older brother, like a father figure, practically, So I guess Will realizes that he can't go a lot of places because he looks like a hobo. Back then, I think this is during the Depression. People would just be like, get the hell out of here, you tramp. So he actually, the last of his money, he buys a suit. He actually gets a room. I kind of like this little interlude where now that he's all gussied up, he sees this woman in a window, and this other guy sees her at the same time, and they're both checking her out, and they knock heads, and this woman just laughs. And they're just all like, hey. Man, I love this drawing. Once again, look how simple her face is, but perfect. And so, he's continuing to ask around. Here's one of those just very faded pencil panels. Just look at that. It's almost like every panel in this comic, he's like, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try to draw differently or experiment with something. Color or the line work or the inking or the lack of inking. So now we just cut away and we see this guy. And once again, taking his time, just see his face. We're slowly pulling out. We see what he's seeing on the wharf. And then look at this, just the ocean. He just says, all right, okay. And that's it. We're still okay, who is this guy? Yeah, look at this simple thing here. But man, the way he's standing, holding that bucket, this guy's a great artist. I'm pretty sure Frank Santoro comes from a fine art background, I imagine. So now finally we speed up a little. We see this guy. He's on the deck of this boat. He throws some slop down on the ground for his dogs to lap up. Seems like there's got to be a better way. Like, get a dog bowl or something. He just throws it on the deck. And we find out that this is Rudy. The captain comes out. And he's giving him shit about having these dogs. He's like, why the hell are there dogs on my ship anyway? He's like, I do all the work here. I told you, I ain't going nowhere without my dogs. He kind of has this kind of jovial argument with the captain. And then he takes the slop bucket and he threatens to throw it at him. And he actually does. But the captain ducks. It hits the cook who had just come out to inquire about dinner. It gets him right in the head. Apparently the captain and Rudy are friends because he doesn't like say you're fired or anything. He's just like, you nut. Look at that interesting panel. It's almost like, what is that, nude descending a staircase? It's just so like almost an abstraction, but you can totally see this figure. And it really gives it the sense of movement. So basically the captain says, I'm going to the bar. You know, we're sailing out. We're pulling out as soon as I get back. Rudy lifts up his pant legs, and we see that he's got all these scars. He's got a bum leg, and now we see a flashback. It's very nebulous what's going on here. We see a wagon that's been fallen over. We see Rudy, his legs bleeding. We see these guys approach him. We see a crashed motorcycle, which until the second flashback, I didn't realize what this was. I was like, oh, he's doing Picasso in the middle of the road here. That's a motorcycle. And the horse looks like he's dead or injured from the cart. And some kind of brutality happens. We see them grab Rudy. But then we just cut away and just see Rudy back leaning up against that wagon with his legs still bleeding. Now we come back to the present. Once again, Rudy just says, all right, to no one. Now we see the captain. He goes into this bar, and Will's there. Captain says, we need another hand. You think that fancy dress guy over there, you know, when they go on our ship? And Will overhears him mention Rudy. So he didn't really want to be a deckhand, but he wants to see Rudy again. Look how sketchy it is here. Yeah, this is really just unfinished looking. Look at that panel. Now we go back to the flashback. Actually, it's flashing back before the scene we just saw. We see Will and Rudy when they were young, about a year ago. I guess they were escaping jail. They're handcuffed together. They're chained together. Rudy has a hammer and he breaks the chain so they can run away better, easier. And they hear a motor engine coming. And Rudy says, it could be the cops. You stand in the middle of the road. I'm going to wait behind this tree. I'm going to ambush him. He does this in the last few pages of this comic where the art continues past the panel line border, and I really like this. It just looks really interesting to me. So they do the plan, and a police officer stops. Rudy conks him on the head, and they get on his motorcycle. Will just says, I think I can figure out how to ride this thing. Of course, he's not very good. So when a horse and buggy or horse and a carriage come in the middle of the road, he doesn't know how to stop in time. And that leads us up to the last flashback. Here's some really just unfinished looking figurative work. But I don't know why it all works in this, for these weird colors, no, they're not that weird. They're actually beautiful. I really like his sense of color, but it's not typical coloring. And now we see the motorcycle crash. They both go flying off the motorcycle. We see Rudy holding his leg in pain. And basically, right then, I'm pretty sure it's that same police officer, and he rounded up some guys, looking for these two escaped convicts. And Rudy says, just go. You ain't doing me no good here. Go ahead and run for it. He says, I can't leave you, Reverend. But Rudy insists. He says, go on. It's now or never. And so basically he left Rudy to get his ass beat by these guys. Look at that. This totally crude looking building. So Will escapes, and now we pop back to the present. They're in the bar. And Rudy books passage on the ship. He actually pays him money and says, I'll do light duties for half fare. So you got a deal. And so he finally, after all this time, these old friends meet. He says, hello, Reverend. And Reverend's all like, don't call me that. No, these guys don't know about my past. I don't want them to. And he basically tells the captain, he's like, this guy's not a deckhand. He ain't coming with us. And Will's just like, what? Why can't I come with you? I paid the captain. I can learn how to be a sailor. And then the captain walks away, and now Rudy and Will can talk. Rudy finally just says, fine, help me hoist this, whatever. You hoist on a ship. Hoist a rig or something. And he tells Rudy how he's been looking for him forever, for a long time. He says, you didn't have to do that, Will. You knew we had to split up. But I didn't know what happened to you, Reverend. He says, well, now you found me. He introduces him to Cookie. And Cookie kind of lets it out of the bag that, yeah, Rudy has been talking about you for years. I can't believe I'm actually meeting you. And Rudy's all like, shut up, Cookie. So obviously, like, the Reverend Rudy just seems like, yeah, he's kind of keeps his emotions, like, kind of buttoned down. So now Cappy is really gone. He leaves the deck. And they got to get rid of Cookie because Cookie's all friendly and wanting to chat. But they're like, Cookie, we need to talk. Here's another one of those panels where he's just like, I'm not going to erase that. I'm just going to leave that in the gutter. And they kind of catch up with their history. Rudy tells them how he got the job on the ship. Kind of interesting, 3 pounds of this dog. Almost like he's morphing, changing in front of us. So Will keeps saying, why can't I come with you? I don't have anywhere to go. I thought when I found you, I'd set myself straight. And Rudy says, you thought I'd set you straight. Which it does seem like Will has this attitude of like, Rudy's going to make everything better. He's like my father figure. I had to know if you were okay, he tells Rudy. Rudy just says, you know I'd be okay. And then it's such an interesting scene because he's adamant that he doesn't want to hang out with him. But the whole time he's telling them, it's like, well, I'm glad you're here. I want you to know that. I want you to always feel that I'm with you. And it means a lot to me that you went looking for me. But this just isn't your place. You're not a sailor. You're not even dressed for it. You're wearing a Sunday suit. So, Will thinks, well, are you saying that maybe next time I can come? And Rudy just says, no, I didn't see that. So it's just a strange relationship between these two. Rudy has to say, we ain't a team no more, Will. And then finally, Will breaks down. He says, you're all I've got. I want to go home, but my home's gone. I got nothing. And he breaks down crying. Rudy comforts him. First, the dog comforts him. That's a very cute drawing of a dog. And then Rudy comforts him, gives him a big bear hug. And he just says, we got to go our own ways, see? You're following me for no other reason. You don't know what you want. I've got nothing. I'm just going back and forth on this boat. You want to be like me? You're just going to end up in a dead end. Like me. The dogs grab his hat and rip it to shreds in a fight. I like this dog just having, with the hat in his mouth with a chomp taken out of it. Will keeps trying. He says, we can help each other. And, Rudy very heartfully says, you already helped me. The fact that you came looking for me. But I can't show you the way no more. He even calls him son. I got a whole different life now. Look how he draws him. All of a sudden, he's like the Hulk. Look how big his hands are. I'm pretty sure that was intentional. Just to show, how big he is in Will's life or in his imagination. Look at that hand. That's crazy. And so finally, Will leaves the ship. I think he finally seems to understand. He's got a smile on his face. And he gets it. Rudy's words have affected him. He's like, yeah, I don't need Rudy. Maybe I'll change, I'll make something in my life. At least make something in my life that I'm content with. And he gives one last look at Rudy as he sails off. And then this is really just kind of hit me. It's like a wallop. He keeps the grid, but all it is this ship for 2 pages. I don't know if it's almost like time has stopped, almost, because every other panel had sequential, art in it. And this is just all like, whew. And just the boat sailing off to Bermuda. Yeah, but look at all this shit. Well, first of all, look at that. I really got to buy this book. I hope they don't change the colors or anything. Or I think for the review I read, it almost implied that they recolored it or something. So I don't know about that. I'm glad I have this then, because I really like just the whole way this looks. And this back cover is kind of interesting, completely different. Almost looks like North American, Northern North American, Native American art. Like you see in the Pacific Northwest, and I imagine Canada too. Even though I know Montreal's not in the western part of Canada, but maybe the Native American art there looks like this too. I don't know, but pretty interesting. But I do prefer the rest of the art in this much more. So there you go, guys. Storeyville by Frank Santoro. I don't even know where I found. I think I found this in a free box, and I was like, "What the hell is this?" Back then. That's probably, this was in a free box because of this, I guess. Never heard of this guy. I was like, "What? This is some free newspaper or something?" And it turned out to be a full graphic novel, a slim one, but I would say this has the heft of a graphic novel. And hope you guys enjoyed watching it, looking at it with me. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.